The station floated above a dead gray planet. It was huge and cold, built from dark metal and sharp lines. Many species lived and worked inside it. Some were tall, some were wide, some had scales or horns or glowing eyes. All of them believed they understood power. Humans were not seen as powerful. Humans were new to the wider galaxy. They were small, soft, and looked fragile. Their skin tore easily. Their bones broke. Their ships were simple compared to others. Most species thought humans survived only because stronger allies protected them. That was why the test was arranged. In the center of the station was a wide arena. The floor was smooth and black. High seats circled the space, filled with observers, soldiers, and leaders. The air hummed with quiet machines and whispered voices. Everyone waited. A single human stood at the center. Her name was Lyra. She was not tall. She was not large. She wore no armor, only a plain gray suit meant for travel, not battle. Her hands were empty. Her dark hair was tied back simply. Her face was calm, almost bored, but her eyes were alert. Across from her, heavy doors slid open. A warrior stepped out. He was massive. His body was wrapped in thick layered armor that covered him from head to toe. The armor shone with deep blue light along its edges. It was famous across several systems. It had survived plasma fire, rail weapons, and direct asteroid hits. No blade had ever cut it. No force had cracked it. The warrior's name was Kor. He walked forward with slow, heavy steps. Each step made the floor shake. He raised his head and looked down at Lyra through the narrow opening of his helmet. A deep voice echoed from speakers. "This test is simple," it said. "The human will attempt to damage the armor. Failure will confirm human weakness." Some laughed. Some leaned forward, eager to watch a human fail. Lyra did not move. Kor crossed his arms. "You may strike," he said. "Use any force you wish." Lyra looked at him for a moment. Then she shook her head slowly. "I will not strike," she said. The crowd laughed louder now. Kor tilted his head. "Then touch," he said. "It will not matter." Lyra took a slow breath. She stepped forward. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor. She stopped close enough to reach him. She raised her right hand. There was no weapon, no glow, no charge of energy. She placed her fingers lightly against the center of his chest plate. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a sharp cracking sound filled the arena. It was not loud, like an explosion. It was quiet, precise, like ice breaking under pressure. Thin lines spread outward from the point where Lyra's fingers touched. The lines grew fast, racing across the chest, down the arms, up toward the helmet. The armor shattered. Large pieces broke away and fell to the floor. Smaller pieces turned to dust. The sound echoed again and again as the legendary armor collapsed around Kor. Kor stumbled backward. His arms dropped. His helmet split and fell apart.
The arena was silent. Kor was not bleeding.
His body was unharmed, but his eyes were wide, filled with fear and confusion. He stared at his own hands as if they did not belong to him. Lyra stepped back. She lowered her hand. "I am finished," she said calmly. No one spoke. The soldiers froze. The observers did not breathe. Machines rushed in automatically, scanning Kor, scanning the broken armor, scanning Lyra. Their lights flashed. Their screens filled with data. None of it made sense. One of the leaders stood up. His skin was pale green, his eyes wide and unblinking. This is impossible, he said. There was no force. No energy spike. Another leader hissed softly. The armor failed. That cannot happen. Kor looked up at Lyra. What did you do? He asked quietly. Lyra met his eyes. I touched, she said. Guards moved quickly now. Weapons were raised, aimed at Lyra from every side. She did not react. She did not raise her hands. She did not run. A sharp voice rang out. Contain the human. Energy fields snapped into place around her. Invisible walls locked her in a small circle. Lyra looked around, curious but calm. She was escorted away, surrounded by soldiers, who did not look at her face. Behind her, the arena erupted into noise. Voices overlapped. Arguments broke out. Fear spread like fire. The armor pieces were gathered and sealed away. Kor was taken to medical chambers, still shaking. Lyra was taken deep into the station. The room they placed her in was bright and white. Smooth walls, no corners, no windows. The air smelled clean and empty. She sat on a simple bench. Across from her, behind a clear barrier, stood several figures. Scientists, leaders, observers. Their eyes followed every small movement she made. Machines scanned her body again and again. They searched for implants, hidden tools, energy sources. They found nothing. She was human. Completely human. One scientist, a thin being with 4 eyes, tapped nervously on a console. There is no enhancement, he said. No modification. Another shook her head. That is not possible. Lyra looked at them. You asked for a test, she said. You receive one. A leader. Step forward. His voice was tight. You destroyed armor that has never failed. Explain how. I did not destroy it, she said. I showed it where it was weak. We do this all the time, Lyra continued. We touch things carefully.
We listen. We learn how they respond.
Then we applied the smallest effort needed. The scientists exchanged looks. That is not how strength is measured, one said. Lyra smiled slightly. On my world, it is. Hours passed. Questions came. Tests followed. Lyra answered simply. She did not argue. She did not boast. Outside the room, fear grew. Some warriors refused to wear armor anymore. Some demanded humans be removed from the station. Others wanted more tests. More proof. One researcher named Hale watched quietly from the back. He replayed the footage again and again. He slowed it down. He watched the moment Lyra's fingers touched the armor. He noticed something others missed. The armor did not break from pressure. It broke from imbalance. Hale frowned. She did not overpower it, he whispered. She disrupted it. No one heard him. Suddenly the lights in the room flickered. Lyra's head lifted slightly. She stood up. The guards reacted at once, tightening the energy field. Stay still, one ordered. Lyra did not move closer. She only tilted her head, listening. Something is wrong, she said. The leaders laughed nervously. You are contained. Nothing can reach you. Lyra shook her head. Not here, she said. Elsewhere. Alarms screamed through the station. The floor trembled. The lights dimmed. Emergency signals flashed red. Voices shouted through speakers. Unknown ships detected. Defensive systems failing. The leaders froze. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them and looked straight at the barrier.
You should let me out, she said calmly. If you wait, many will die.
Some shouted to keep her contained. Others argued there was no time. Hale stepped forward. His voice shook, but it was clear. She knew before the alarms, he said. She sensed it. All eyes turned to him. Lyra stood quietly, waiting. Outside, explosions rocked the station. Somewhere far away, metal tore and lives ended. The leaders hesitated. The test was over. The consequences were just beginning. Lyra was led through narrow corridors under heavy guard. The walls hummed with energy, and lights glowed along the ceilings. Every few meters, cameras tracked her movements. Every few steps, guards whispered warnings to each other. None of it disturbed her. She moved calmly, her eyes scanning every detail. The chamber they took her to was even more secure than the first. Thick glass walls and metal frames surrounded the room. Inside, strange machines with blinking lights and moving arms were ready to examine her. Several scientists from different worlds were present. Some were tall, with long limbs and many fingers. Some were small, with hard shells and glowing eyes. All of them looked at her with disbelief. One of the scientists stepped forward. He was thin, with gray skin and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. "We will examine you again," he said. "You are human." Completely human. There is nothing we can detect that could have broken the armor. Lyra nodded. She did not argue. She simply allowed the machines to scan her. Lasers moved over her body. Sensors touched her skin. Data flowed into displays. Nothing unusual appeared. A different scientist, shorter and rounder with soft pink skin, muttered under her breath, "This is impossible. She has no enhancements, no weapon, no power source." Yet she destroyed a warrior's armor with only a touch. Lyra tilted her head and asked, "Do you want me to show you again?" The scientists froze. One of them said sharply, "No, that is not necessary." "We will continue the scans." Hours passed. Lyra sat quietly while the machines hummed and the scientists whispered to each other. None of the scanning devices found a single clue. She remained calm and still, as though she had nothing to prove. One researcher named Hale watched carefully. He had been observing humans for several months, but had never seen anything like this. Hale noticed the way she moved her fingers, the way her body shifted slightly even when she seemed still. He saw a subtle rhythm in her movements, almost like she was listening to something invisible. He whispered to himself, "She is not using strength."
She's using control. Lyra noticed his gaze.
She smiled faintly but said nothing. She had learned long ago that humans survive by observing first, acting second. In her world, rushing into danger without thought led to death. Here, she applied the same principle, quietly assessing her surroundings. Suddenly a warning sounded through the room. A red light flashed and a deep siren echoed. The floor vibrated slightly under their feet. Lyra's eyes narrowed. She turned toward the glass wall. One of the guards shouted, "Contain her! Keep her away from the wall!" Lyra raised her hand slightly but did not move closer. "It is not here," she said softly. "It is coming from another section." The scientists and guards looked at her in confusion. Hale stepped closer, his voice trembling. "She sensed it before our alarms. How can a human do that?" Lyra did not answer. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, listening. Her head tilted as though hearing something faint and distant. Then she opened her eyes and pointed in a direction. "Ships are approaching."
They will hit within minutes, she said. The leaders in the room whispered among themselves, their faces pale.
"Impossible," one said. "Our sensors should have detected them by now." She knows the future somehow. That cannot be human. Outside, the hum of the station changed. Doors began sealing automatically. Energy shields activated. Soldiers ran through corridors, preparing for battle. The humans in the room, Lyra and Hale, were calm amidst the panic. Hale turned to her.
How do you know this?
He asked, I have learned to listen. On my world, danger often arrives before you see it.
You feel it first, then you act.
The doors to the chamber rattled as distant explosions shook the station. Sparks fell from panels in the ceiling. The humans and aliens in the room were thrown into action. Soldiers checked weapons. Scientists ran to consoles. Alarms blared. Lyra stood and walked toward the wall, where a small console allowed her to observe external systems. She did not touch it. She only observed, her mind racing faster than the machines could analyze. Hale watched her, amazed. You are not fast, he said quietly. You are precise, perfectly precise. The first enemy ships appeared on the screens. They were sleek and black with long, pointed hulls. They moved silently and quickly, bypassing the station's outer defenses. The station's automated turrets opened fire, but the enemy ships dodged with unnatural speed. Systems are failing faster than expected, a guard said. Shields are weakening. Lyra did not panic. She moved through the room, her steps quiet, almost floating. She gestured to a group of soldiers. Step here. Push the panels to this angle. Activate these shields first. Then reroute power to the engines. The soldiers followed her instructions, some skeptical, some desperate. They worked as quickly as they could, guided by her calm voice. Every adjustment she suggested prevented damage to critical systems. Outside, enemy ships fired. Explosions rocked the station. Panels broke and smoke filled the corridors. Some soldiers panicked and ran, but Lyra moved among them, directing each one calmly. Another human appeared in the chaos. A young man named Aaron, a civilian engineer, joined her. Together, they moved through the corridors, assessing damage, predicting where the next hit would occur. They climbed over broken walls, dodged falling debris, and rerouted failing systems by hand. Follow me, Lyra said to a group of soldiers. We need to prevent the core from overloading. The soldiers hesitated, but they obeyed. Lyra and Aaron moved ahead, their hands touching levers, panels, and controls. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and flames licked the walls. Yet they worked faster than the automated systems could respond. Hale observed from a safe distance. His eyes were wide. They are surviving things that should kill them instantly, he whispered. No other species could do this. As the battle continued, the enemy ships tried to focus fire on the areas where humans were operating. But Lyra and Aaron moved in ways the aliens could not predict. They were always one step ahead, appearing where needed, disappearing before attacks could reach them. The station's defense systems began to stabilize. Some sections that had been destroyed were rerouted and repaired almost instantly. Soldiers who had been injured were guided to safety. The alien leaders watched in disbelief. These humans are not fighting like any other species, one said. They do not retreat. They do not panic. They simply endure and adapt. Lyra paused for a moment in a corridor, listening to the distant sounds of battle. She could feel where the next hit would occur. She gestured and shouted directions. A panel shifted. A door sealed. Energy was redirected. Another explosion rocked the station, but damage was minimal. Aaron looked at her, breathless. How do you know all of this? He asked. Lyra smiled faintly. We learned long ago that survival is about more than strength. It is about awareness. timing, and calm. We move before danger becomes obvious. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The enemy ships continued their assault, but every attack was countered. The humans in the station were the difference between collapse and survival. Finally, a loud alarm blared. The station's main sensor detected a massive fleet preparing to enter hyperspace near human space. The enemy ships outside were only the beginning. The leaders turned to Lyra, panic on their faces.
What do we do now?
One demanded. Lyra looked at them calmly. Prepare for more, she said. They will not stop, but neither will we. Hale watched her closely. These humans, he whispered, they survive where others die. They do not fight like warriors. They fight like everything depends on it, and it always does. Outside the chamber, the sounds of battle continued. Explosions shook the station, fires burned, and debris floated through corridors. Yet Lyra remained calm, guiding the humans and alien soldiers alike with quiet authority. The enemy fleet continued to approach. The station was damaged but still functional. Humans had survived attacks that should have destroyed them. The alien leaders were forced to admit it silently. Humans were not weak. They were something entirely different. Lyra walked back to the center of the room, her hands still empty. She looked at the leaders and scientists. You see now, she said softly, we do not rely on power alone. We rely on endurance, control, and foresight. You cannot measure humans with your numbers. One of the leaders shook his head. We have underestimated you, he admitted quietly. Entirely. Outside, distant explosions signaled the continuation of the battle. Enemy ships were regrouping. The station had survived the first wave, but the humans had proven something far more important than strength. Lyra and Aaron moved toward the main control panels again, preparing for the next attack. Hale watched silently, recording every movement, every decision. He understood now why the humans had broken the armor. It was never about raw force. It was about control, observation, and adaptability. The station trembled as another explosion shook the walls. Lyra raised her hand slightly, pointing toward a damaged corridor. Soldiers immediately moved to stabilize it. The scientists and leaders whispered among themselves, "We cannot deny it any longer," one said. "Humans are dangerous, not because of weapons, but because of who they are." Lyra's calm face remained the same. She did not smile. She did not boast. She simply prepared for what was coming next. The enemy fleet outside continued to advance. The humans inside the station were ready. And the galaxy would soon realize that humans were not what they seemed. Lyra turned to Aaron and said quietly, "We have more to do. They will not stop." Aaron nodded. "Then we will not either." The station rumbled again as new enemy ships appeared on the sensors. The humans moved as one, predicting, guiding, and surviving attacks that would have destroyed any other species. Hale whispered to himself, still recording everything. These humans, they are impossible. The first wave had passed. The second was coming. And humans would endure, as they always did. The station shook violently as another wave of enemy ships appeared on the sensors. Their sleek black hulls cut through space at impossible speeds, moving toward the station like predators closing in on prey. The human defenders had little time to react. Alarms blared, lights flashed red, and corridors trembled under the force of nearby impacts. Soldiers scrambled, shouting orders, but confusion spread quickly. Many had never faced such sudden destruction. Lyra moved through the chaos calmly. Her boots made soft, almost silent sounds against the floor. She stopped at a damaged console, inspecting the control panel. Sparks flew from broken wires and smoke curled in the air, but she did not hesitate. Her hands moved with precision, touching levers and switches in a sequence that rerouted power to the station's failing shields. The shields flickered, then stabilized, holding against the first incoming blasts. Aaron, the young engineer, followed her closely. His eyes widened as he watched her work. "How do you know what to do?" he asked, his voice nearly drowned out by the roar of alarms. Lyra did not answer immediately. She continued to work, her fingers moving faster than most could follow. Finally, she said, "I can feel what will fail first. You do not fight danger by reacting to it. You fight it before it arrives." Hale, observing from a corner, shook his head in disbelief. "Humans are not supposed to be like this," he muttered. "No other species reacts before a threat even exists." Explosions outside rattled the station again. Panels fell and smoke poured into hallways. Soldiers panicked, some frozen in place, others running blindly. Lyra moved among them, guiding each one with calm authority. "Step to the left. Push that panel. Watch your footing." Her voice was firm but quiet, a contrast to the chaos around her. The enemy ships concentrated fire on areas where humans were operating. Plasma bolts tore through walls and floors. Entire sections of the station groaned under stress. Yet every time an attack struck, Lyra and Aaron had already predicted it, rerouted systems, or evacuated the soldiers in the path. The humans seemed almost untouchable, moving through danger that would have destroyed any other species. In the observation room, alien leaders whispered urgently. "How is this possible?" one asked. "They survive things that should kill them instantly." Another leader, his tentacles curling nervously, said, "It is not just survival. Look at how they think, how they adapt. They are changing the battle as they go." Meanwhile, Lyra paused for a moment, listening to the vibrations in the station. She closed her eyes briefly, sensing weak points in the structure before any alarms registered them. She moved quickly to a corridor where the supports were bending. With Aaron's help, she reinforced the metal beams, placing energy locks that held the walls against pressure that would have crushed anyone else. Soldiers nearby watched in awe. One whispered to another, "How can one human do so much?" It is understanding. She knows how to survive before the danger even touches her. Lyra moved to the main engine room. Smoke filled the area, and panels hung loose from the ceiling. Fires burned along the walls. The engines were faltering, threatening to shut down and leave the station defenseless. Lyra assessed the situation in seconds. She directed a small team of humans and aliens to reroute power manually, avoiding sparks and flames that would have caused death. A massive explosion shook the room, sending debris flying. Lyra's body moved instinctively. She caught a falling console, rolled it into place, and used it to stabilize a critical energy conduit. Sparks flew around her, but she did not flinch. Soldiers followed her instructions, amazed that she seemed entirely unafraid of the danger. Hale observed from a safe distance, recording everything. "They are not just surviving," he whispered. "They are thriving in conditions that should have killed them. No species can endure this." The enemy ships tried to anticipate the humans' moves, focusing fire on corridors where Lyra and Aaron were operating. But humans were always one step ahead. They moved quickly, dodging falling debris and avoiding blasts. Every action was deliberate, precise, and calculated. Every move saved lives. Lyra stopped at a broken panel and pointed to a group of soldiers. "Push this lever here. Activate the auxiliary shields, then reroute the power to the secondary engines." Soldiers obeyed. some skeptical but desperate. They moved quickly under her guidance. The shields flickered, then held. The engines roared back to life. Outside, enemy ships fired relentlessly, but the station began to stabilize. Damage that would have been catastrophic was repaired almost instantly. The humans' presence made the difference between collapse and survival. Alien leaders were forced to admit silently that their measurements of power were wrong. Humans did not rely on strength or weapons alone. They relied on endurance, precision, and awareness. Lyra moved through the corridors, checking each section. Smoke and flames filled the air, yet she remained calm. Her voice guided soldiers, her hands directed repairs, and her mind anticipated attacks before they arrived. Soldiers who had been injured were led to safety. Those trapped in debris were freed with her help. A loud alarm blared. Another wave of enemy ships appeared on the sensors, faster and larger than the first. The station trembled under the weight of the approaching threat. The alien leaders panicked, unsure how to respond. Lyra turned to Aaron. "We need to prepare for them. They will not stop." "We will not stop either." The humans moved as one, predicting attacks, stabilizing failing systems, and protecting lives. Their presence turned chaos into order, despair into action. In the observation room, Hale shook his head. "This is beyond anything I imagined. Humans are not just survivors. They are something entirely different." The enemy fleet continued to approach. Explosions rocked the station. Fire and smoke filled the corridors. Yet Lyra and Aaron moved through it all with calm efficiency. They guided soldiers, repaired systems, and anticipated the enemy's next strike. The station's main shields held. Critical systems were operational. The humans had survived attacks that should have destroyed the station entirely. Alien leaders whispered among themselves, realizing for the first time that humans were not weak. Lyra paused for a moment in a central corridor. She listened to the vibrations, sensed the weak points, and made her decisions. Every action was precise. Every move saved lives. She turned to Aaron and said quietly, "They will try again. We need to be ready." Outside, the enemy ships continued their advance. The humans were ready. The first waves had been survived, but the battle was far from over. Hale whispered to himself, still recording every movement. "These humans. They are impossible." And in the midst of chaos, Lyra stood calmly, prepared to face whatever came next. She had proven once more that survival was not about strength alone. It was about precision, awareness, and endurance. The humans would endure as they always did. The station trembled again, signaling another attack. Soldiers looked to Lyra for guidance. She simply nodded, moving ahead to prepare the next defense. The enemy fleet would not break the station, not while humans were there to guide, protect, and survive. Every explosion, every alarm, every collapsing wall became part of a pattern Lyra understood. She moved through the station as though she had rehearsed it 1,000 times. Every step saved lives. Every decision mattered. Hale continued to watch in awe, recording every detail. This is more than strategy. This is instinct. Humans do not just react. They anticipate, adapt, and survive where nothing else can. The station system stabilized further under Lyra's guidance. Enemy attacks continued, but the humans' calm efficiency countered every strike. Soldiers began to follow her lead instinctively, trusting her judgment even when they did not understand it. Finally, a loud blast shook the entire station. Panels fell, alarms screamed, and smoke filled the air. Yet Lyra remained calm. She moved through the debris, directing soldiers to safety, repairing failing systems, and anticipating the enemy's next move. The enemy fleet was relentless, but the humans inside the station were unyielding. Lyra and Aaron moved as one, guiding, repairing, and surviving attacks that should have destroyed them. Hale whispered to himself again, still recording. No species can endure like this. Humans are not just survivors. They are something the galaxy has never seen before. And in the heart of the chaos, Lyra stood calmly, ready for the next challenge. The battle was far from over, but humans had proven once more that they could endure, adapt, and survive where others would fail. The enemy ships advanced. The station held, and humans continued to show that survival was not measured by strength alone. It was measured by awareness, precision, and the will to endure. Lyra looked toward the next corridor, sensing danger before it arrived. She moved forward with confidence, ready to face whatever the enemy would throw at them next. The station had survived, but the humans were far from finished. The alien leaders gathered in a wide observation chamber, their eyes fixed on the screens that showed the station and its defenders. Many whispered urgently among themselves. The humans inside the station had survived attacks that should have destroyed them. Entire sections had collapsed. Fires had raged uncontrolled, and yet the humans continued. They adapted to every situation. Every movement, every repair, every calculated step saved lives and preserved the station. Lyra moved through the central corridors with calm precision. Smoke and sparks filled the air, yet she did not hurry. Her eyes scanned every detail, noting where walls might give way, where fires could spread, and where the enemy would strike next. Every action was deliberate, every step calculated. Soldiers followed her instinctively, moving exactly where she directed, trusting her judgment even when the danger was immediate. Aaron stayed close, guiding damaged systems under her direction. Together, they rerouted power from the outer shields to protect the central core. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the heat burned their skin. Yet they did not pause. They worked faster than any machine, faster than any soldier could react. Yet every move was precise. Hale watched quietly from a corner, recording every motion and reaction. "They do not fight like any other species," he whispered. "They do not rely on brute force. They survive because they understand every element of danger before it arrives. Humans do not react, they anticipate." Outside, the enemy fleet pressed their attack. Plasma bolts tore through the station, sending panels flying and opening gaping holes in the walls. Yet the humans inside adapted instantly. They reinforced supports with energy locks, rerouted power to failing systems, and guided soldiers away from danger zones before anyone else could act. In one corridor, a group of alien soldiers froze as a massive support beam began to fall. Lyra arrived just in time. She grabbed the beam and shifted it into place, using it to reinforce a damaged wall. Aaron quickly rerouted energy to stabilize the area. Soldiers scrambled past, wide-eyed and amazed. One whispered, "How can she move so calmly in this?" Lyra did not answer. She moved forward, sensing the next danger. Alarms blared again, and the floor trembled under distant explosions. Debris fell from the ceiling. Sparks rained from broken conduits. She guided her team past each hazard, avoiding injuries, preventing damage, and keeping control in chaos. Hale muttered to himself, "This is more than skill. This is instinct." Humans survive because they sense, they adapt, and they endure. In the command center, the alien leaders panicked. Their systems were failing faster than anticipated. They had underestimated humans at every step. Their calculations of power and resilience had been based on brute strength, speed, and firepower. Humans did not follow these rules. Humans relied on endurance, observation, and calm precision. Every attempt to predict their behavior failed. A young alien officer shouted into the comm system, "We are losing control of key sections. They survive everything we throw at them." One of the older leaders shook his head. It is not just survival. They understand danger differently. They anticipate it. We are dealing with a species that cannot be measured by power alone. Meanwhile, Lyra paused at a junction where fire had blocked the path. She assessed the situation and gestured to Aaron. "We go left, reinforce the wall with the support panel, then reroute auxiliary power through the emergency conduits. The flames will die if we do this quickly." Aaron nodded. They moved together, positioning panels, rerouting energy, and guiding soldiers past the fire. Sparks flew dangerously close, yet neither human flinched. Every action saved lives. Every decision mattered. In the observation room, Hale continued to record, his voice low. They are not just reacting, they are predicting. Every movement saves someone. They are impossible to kill in these conditions. The enemy ships intensified their assault, concentrating fire on the station's central core. Energy readings spiked. The core began to overheat. Alarms screamed louder than ever. Panic spread among the alien defenders. Lyra did not panic. She assessed the damage and began issuing orders. Divert power from the outer shields.
Reinforce the containment field. Move soldiers to safer positions.
Activate emergency cooling for the core. Every command was precise, timed perfectly with the incoming attacks. Aaron and the human soldiers worked quickly, following her directions exactly. Panels were rerouted, energy flows stabilized. The core's temperature began to drop. A massive explosion struck near them, but the humans moved as if they had predicted it. No one was injured. Hale whispered, "They survive things no other species could. They endure. They adapt. They anticipate. That is their real power." The alien leaders argued among themselves. "We cannot fight this," one said. "We cannot break them. Every attack is countered before it lands." Another shook his head. "We have measured strength, speed, and weapons.
None of it matters. They survive because they think differently."
They endure beyond calculation. Lyra paused in the main corridor, listening to the vibrations of the station. She sensed where the next attack would hit. "Move the engineers here," she said to Aaron. "Prepare the energy locks. They will strike the outer walls first, then the secondary shields. We cannot fail this section." Soldiers moved quickly under her guidance. Engineers rerouted power. Panels were reinforced. The attack came as she had predicted. Plasma bolts tore through the corridor, but the humans had already moved soldiers and equipment out of harm's way. The walls held. Systems remained operational. Aaron looked at her, amazed. "How did you know that?" he asked. Lyra shrugged. "We learn to feel danger before it arrives. On my world, survival is about anticipation, not strength." Hale continued to watch, noting every detail. It is instinct. Humans do not rely on force. They survive by seeing danger before anyone else does, and acting with perfect timing. The enemy fleet continued to fire relentlessly. Sections of the station groaned and bent under pressure. Fires spread, corridors collapsed, and alarms blared. Yet the humans inside continued to guide soldiers, reroute power, and repair critical systems. The alien leaders realized their calculations had failed completely. They are not like any other species, one admitted quietly. They cannot be destroyed with conventional means. They endure because they do not fight the way we expect. Lyra moved to the engineering bay, where fires threatened the auxiliary engines. She assessed the situation and directed Aaron and a small group of soldiers to reroute energy manually. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and heat burned, but they completed the repairs faster than the systems could fail. Outside, enemy ships concentrated fire on the area they had just repaired. Plasma bolts struck the hull, sending vibrations through the station, yet the humans had already moved away, predicting the strike. The damage was minimal. Hale shook his head in disbelief. No species should survive like this. Humans are impossible. Alien leaders continued to argue. We measured their strength. We measured their weapons. We measured their speed. None of it mattered. Every calculation failed. Another added quietly, they survive because they understand danger differently. They anticipate it. They endure it. They adapt to it. That is their real strength. Lyra paused in a corridor, listening to the hum of the station. She sensed weak points, predicted attacks, and moved soldiers and engineers to safer positions. Every step, every action, every decision mattered. Aaron followed her closely, helping to reroute energy and stabilize systems. Sparks flew dangerously close, yet neither human flinched. Every move saved lives. Every decision kept the station from collapsing. The enemy fleet pressed harder, but the humans inside the station were unyielding. They adapted to each attack, survived each explosion, and repaired damage faster than it occurred. Hale continued to record everything, whispering to himself, "Humans do not fight like any other species. They survive because they anticipate, adapt, and endure where no one else can." The station trembled again as another wave of enemy ships attacked. Fires raged, panels fell, alarms blared, soldiers panicked. Yet Lyra and Aaron moved calmly through the chaos, guiding, repairing, and saving lives. The alien leaders watched silently, realizing for the first time that humans could not be measured by strength alone. Humans survived because they adapted, endured, and anticipated danger before it arrived. Lyra moved to the central control panel. She assessed the damage, rerouted power, and guided the soldiers to reinforce critical sections. The station shuddered under fire, but it held. The humans inside had turned chaos into order. Aaron whispered, "We cannot fail. Not now." Lyra nodded. "We will not fail. We endure. That is what humans do." Outside, the enemy fleet continued its assault. Inside, humans worked together, predicting attacks, stabilizing failing systems, and saving lives. Hale watched in awe. This is impossible. Humans survive where no one else could. They endure because they anticipate, adapt, and act with perfect precision. The station remained standing. Fires were contained. Systems were stabilized. Soldiers survived attacks that should have killed them. Lyra paused for a moment, listening to the vibrations of the station. She sensed another danger approaching. "Prepare the next section," she said to Aaron. "They will strike there next." The humans moved quickly, reinforcing panels, rerouting energy, and guiding soldiers. Every action saved lives. Every decision prevented disaster. The alien leaders whispered among themselves, their faces pale. "We have underestimated humans." Entirely. They are not weak. They are impossible to destroy with conventional measures. Lyra moved forward calmly, ready for whatever attack came next. The station trembled under fire, but the humans inside were unyielding. They adapted, endured, and survived. The enemy fleet pressed forward, unaware that humans inside the station had already predicted the next wave. Lyra and Aaron moved with quiet confidence, guiding soldiers, stabilizing systems, and saving lives. Hale whispered to himself again, still recording every movement. Humans survive because they endure, adapt, and anticipate. They are impossible. And in the heart of the chaos, Lyra stood calmly, prepared for the next challenge. The battle was far from over, but humans had proven once more that they could survive, adapt, and endure where no one else could. The enemy fleet approached. The station trembled, and the humans moved forward, unafraid, unbroken, and unstoppable. The humans had stabilized the station for now, but the enemy fleet continued its approach. Sensors showed hundreds of ships moving quickly through space, forming into massive formations designed to overwhelm the station's defenses. The alien leaders panicked. They had underestimated humans at every turn, and now they realized their calculations had failed completely. Lyra moved through the main control corridor with Aaron by her side. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burning metal. Sparks fell from damaged panels, and the floor trembled under distant explosions. Yet she walked calmly, her eyes scanning every detail, every display, every sensor. She did not hurry. She simply observed and acted with precision. "Prepare the auxiliary shields," she said quietly to a small team of soldiers. "The outer hull will take the first strike, then the secondary systems. If we fail here, the station falls." The soldiers nodded, moving quickly under her direction. They reinforced panels, rerouted energy, and moved vital equipment out of harm's way. Sparks flew dangerously close, yet the humans moved as if nothing could harm them. Aaron worked alongside her, rerouting power from damaged systems to reinforce weak points. "How do you know which systems to prioritize?" he asked, his voice almost drowned out by alarms and explosions. Lyra did not answer immediately. She paused, listening to the hum of the station, feeling vibrations in the walls and floor. "You learn to sense danger," she said finally. "You act before it arrives, not after it hits." Hale observed from a safe distance, recording everything. "No species reacts like this," he whispered. "No species anticipates danger this way." Humans survive where others die because they think differently. Outside the station, the enemy fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through shields and hulls, creating massive explosions that rocked the structure. Debris floated through corridors, fires spread, and alarms blared. Yet the humans inside moved calmly, repairing systems, guiding soldiers, and stabilizing the station. One section of the station was close to collapse. A wall was bending under pressure from a nearby explosion. Soldiers froze, unsure how to respond. Lyra arrived just in time. She grabbed a support panel, shifted it into place, and directed energy locks to stabilize the wall. Aaron rerouted power to prevent a system overload. The soldiers watched in awe as the danger passed without a single casualty. In the observation room, alien leaders whispered urgently. "We cannot break them," one said. "Every attack fails. Every prediction they make is accurate. They survive where no one else can." Another leader shook his head. "We have measured strength, speed, and weapons. None of it matters. Humans survive because they anticipate, adapt, and endure. That is their true power." Lyra moved to the central hub, where critical systems were failing under constant assault. She assessed the situation and began issuing orders. Divert power from non-essential systems. Reinforce the main shields.
Move soldiers to safer positions. Activate emergency cooling for the core.
Soldiers followed her instructions without hesitation. Aaron and the engineers worked alongside her, rerouting power and repairing damaged conduits. Sparks flew, panels shifted, and flames licked the walls. But every action was precise. Every decision saved lives. The enemy fleet tried to focus fire on areas where the humans were operating. Plasma bolts struck corridors, tearing through walls and floors. Yet Lyra had already predicted each strike. Soldiers moved out of harm's way, energy locks activated, and critical systems remained intact. Hale whispered to himself, still reporting every movement. Humans do not fight like any other species. They survive because they anticipate, adapt, and endure. They are impossible. The alien leaders continued to argue among themselves.
We measured everything, one said quietly. Weapons, armor, speed.
None of it mattered. Humans endure because they think differently. They anticipate danger before it arrives. Lyra paused at a junction where fires threatened the main corridor. She assessed the situation and gestured to Aaron. We move left, reinforce the wall with the spare support panels, reroute auxiliary power through the emergency conduits. The flames will die if we act quickly. Aaron nodded, and together they guided soldiers and engineers through the corridor. Sparks flew dangerously close, but no one panicked. Every move saved lives. Every action kept the station functional. Outside, enemy ships concentrated fire on the section they had just repaired. Plasma bolts struck the walls, but the humans had already moved soldiers and equipment out of harm's way. The damage was minimal. Hale continued to record, whispering to himself, "They do not just survive. They adapt faster than the enemy can strike. Humans endure where no one else can." The enemy fleet pressed harder, forming massive formations designed to crush the station in a single coordinated strike. Explosions rocked the structure. Fires spread, alarms screamed, and panels fell. Soldiers panicked, yet Lyra and Aaron moved calmly, guiding repairs, reinforcing weak points, and protecting lives. We underestimated them, one admitted quietly. Humans cannot be destroyed by conventional attacks. They endure because they anticipate, adapt, and act with perfect timing. That is their true strength. Lyra paused in the central corridor, listening to vibrations in the walls and floor. She sensed the next attack, predicting where the enemy would strike. "Prepare the next section," she said. "They will aim for the outer shields first, then the secondary systems. We cannot fail here." Soldiers moved quickly under her guidance, reinforcing panels, rerouting energy, and moving personnel to safe positions. The attack came as she had predicted. Plasma bolts tore through the corridor, but the humans had already moved everyone and stabilized the systems. Aaron whispered in amazement, "How do you know all of this?"
Lyra smiled faintly.
Strength is not enough. You anticipate, adapt, and endure. That is how humans live. Hale continued to watch, recording every movement. It is instinct. Humans survive because they anticipate danger before it arrives and act with perfect precision. The enemy fleet intensified their assault, concentrating fire on the station's core. Energy readings spiked. Alarms screamed louder. Panic spread among the alien defenders. Lyra did not panic. She issued precise orders. Divert power from the outer shields. Reinforce the containment field. Move soldiers to safe positions. Activate emergency cooling systems. Soldiers and engineers moved under her guidance. Sparks flew, flames licked the walls, but every action was deliberate and saved lives. Another massive explosion struck the station, sending debris flying. Lyra and Aaron moved as if they had predicted it. No one was injured. Systems remained functional. Hale whispered, "No species can endure this. Humans survive because they anticipate, adapt, and act with perfect precision."
They are impossible. The alien leaders continued to argue.
"We measured everything: strength, weapons, speed. None of it matters. Humans endure because they are different. They anticipate, adapt, and survive where no one else could." Lyra moved to the engineering bay, where fires threatened the auxiliary engines. She assessed the situation and directed Aaron and a team of soldiers to reroute energy manually. Sparks flew dangerously close, but they completed the repairs faster than the systems could fail. Outside, enemy ships concentrated fire on the repaired section. Plasma bolts struck, but the humans had already moved personnel and systems out of harm's way. Damage was minimal. Hale shook his head. "They are impossible. Humans survive where no one else could. They endure because they anticipate and adapt." The station trembled as another wave of enemy ships attacked. Fires raged, panels fell, alarms screamed. Soldiers panicked, yet Lyra and Aaron moved calmly, guiding, repairing, and saving lives. The alien leaders whispered among themselves, pale and quiet, "We have underestimated humans. They are not weak. They are impossible to destroy with conventional measures." Lyra moved forward calmly, ready for the next attack. The station trembled under fire, but the humans inside were unyielding. They adapted, endured, and survived. The enemy fleet advanced, unaware that humans had already predicted the next wave. Lyra and Aaron moved with quiet confidence, guiding soldiers, stabilizing systems, and saving lives. Hale whispered again, still recording, "Humans survive because they endure, adapt, and anticipate. They are impossible." The station held. Fires were contained. Systems stabilized. Soldiers survived attacks that should have destroyed them. Lyra paused, listening to the vibrations of the station. She sensed another danger approaching. "Prepare the next section," she said. "They will strike there next." Humans moved quickly, reinforcing panels, rerouting energy, and guiding soldiers. Every action saved lives. Every decision prevented disaster. Alien leaders watched silently, realizing humans could not be measured by strength alone. They survived because they adapted, endured, and anticipated danger. Lyra moved forward, calm and focused. The enemy fleet pressed closer. The station trembled. But humans endured, adapted, and survived. They were unstoppable. The battle was far from over, but humans had proven again that survival was not measured by strength or weapons. It was measured by awareness, anticipation, and the will to endure. Lyra looked to Aaron. "They will not stop," she said. Aaron nodded. "Neither will we." The enemy fleet advanced. The station held, and the humans moved forward, unbroken, unyielding, and unstoppable. The enemy fleet pressed closer, massive black ships cutting through space with a speed that threatened to overwhelm the station. Alarms blared throughout every corridor. Sparks rained from broken conduits and smoke curled along the ceilings. Soldiers shouted, some panicked, some desperate, but all moved under the guidance of Lyra and Aaron. Every step, every action, every decision had to be precise. Failure now would mean the destruction of the station and the lives within it. Lyra moved through the central corridors calmly. Her boots made soft sounds against the floor. nearly drowned out by the roar of explosions and the screams of damaged machinery. Her eyes scanned every panel, every display, every sensor. She could sense where the station would be hit next. She could predict the enemy's movements before they even arrived. That was how humans survived. That was how they endured. "Prepare the outer shields for maximum impact," she said quietly to the nearest soldiers. "Divert auxiliary power to the secondary barriers. If the first wave breaks through, the secondary must hold." Sparks flew around them, but they moved like extensions of Lyra's will, reinforcing panels, rerouting energy, and evacuating personnel from danger zones. Aaron worked alongside her, rerouting power from damaged conduits and manually adjusting systems that were failing too quickly for machines to respond. Outside, enemy ships unleashed a concentrated wave of plasma fire. Explosions tore through the outer hull, walls buckled, panels fell, and fires spread. The station shook violently, throwing soldiers off balance. Yet Lyra and Aaron moved calmly among the chaos, directing repairs, guiding personnel, and stabilizing critical systems faster than the enemy could damage them. Hale watched from a safe observation room, recording every movement. "No species reacts like this," he whispered. "They do not fight with weapons alone. They survive because they anticipate, adapt, and endure. Humans are impossible to destroy." In one corridor, a massive support beam began to bend dangerously under the weight of an explosion. Soldiers froze, unsure what to do. Lyra arrived instantly. She grabbed the beam, shifted it into place, and directed energy locks to stabilize the structure. Sparks rained down, but no one was injured. Aaron quickly rerouted power to prevent an overload. The danger passed, almost unnoticed, because humans had already anticipated it. The alien leaders argued in the observation room. "Every attack we make is countered," one hissed. "Every calculation fails. How is it possible?" Another shook his head. "Strength, weapons, numbers, they mean nothing. Humans endure because they think differently. They survive because they anticipate danger and act before it arrives." Lyra moved to the main reactor room where fires threatened the core. Sparks flew from broken panels. Smoke filled the air. Alarms screamed. Yet she moved calmly, assessing the damage, directing repairs, and coordinating soldiers and engineers. "Divert power from non-essential systems," she said. "Reinforce the containment field. Move personnel to safe positions. Activate emergency cooling for the core." Soldiers and engineers followed her directions without hesitation. Sparks fell around them, flames licked the walls, and the heat burned. Yet every action was precise. Every decision saved lives and stabilized critical systems. The enemy fleet focused fire on the reactor room. Plasma bolts struck the walls and floors, creating massive explosions. Panels collapsed. Smoke filled the corridors. Yet humans were always one step ahead. Soldiers moved before the fire reached them. Energy locks stabilized walls before they bent. Critical systems remained intact. Hale whispered to himself, still recording, "Humans do not survive by force. They survive because they anticipate, adapt, and endure. They are impossible." In the observation chamber, alien leaders whispered urgently. "We have underestimated them," one admitted. "They cannot be destroyed with conventional attacks. Every strike is countered before it lands." Another added quietly, "They survive because they think differently. They endure because they adapt and anticipate. That is their true power." Lyra paused in a central corridor, sensing vibrations in the station. She could feel where the next attack would strike. "Prepare the next section," she said to Aaron. "They will aim for the outer shields first. then the secondary systems. We cannot fail here. Dive into her guidance. Panels were reinforced. Energy rerouted. Personnel moved to safe positions. The enemy attack came exactly as she predicted. Plasma bolts tore through the corridor, but no one was harmed. Aaron whispered, "Odd. How can you know all of this?" Lyra smiled faintly. "We survive because we anticipate, adapt, and endure. Strength alone does not save lives. Awareness and timing do." Pale continued to record silently. "They are not reacting. They are predicting. Humans endure because they act before danger arrives. They are impossible." The enemy fleet intensified its assault. Massive ships formed waves, firing with precision designed to destroy the station in a single strike. Explosions rocked the structure. Fires spread. Panels collapsed. Alarms screamed. Soldiers panicked, yet Lyra and Aaron moved calmly, directing repairs, guiding personnel, and saving lives. Alien leaders watched helplessly. "We measured speed, strength, and weapons. None of it matters. Humans survive because they anticipate and adapt. They endure when no one else can." Lyra moved to the engineering bay where fires threatened the auxiliary engines. She directed soldiers and engineers to reroute power manually, stabilize systems, and reinforce panels. Sparks flew dangerously close, yet every action was precise. Every move saved lives. Outside, enemy ships concentrated fire on that section. Plasma bolts tore through the walls, yet humans had already moved personnel and equipment out of harm's way. The damage was minimal. Hale whispered, recording every detail. "They do not just survive. They endure faster than the enemy can strike. Humans anticipate, adapt, and endure where no one else could." The station trembled under repeated waves of attack. Fires raged. Explosions shattered corridors. Soldiers panicked, yet humans moved through the chaos with calm precision, guiding, repairing, and saving lives. The alien leaders realized the truth. Humans cannot be destroyed by conventional attacks. They endure because they anticipate and adapt. That is their true power. Lyra paused in a corridor, listening to the vibrations of the station. She sensed where the next strike would occur. "Move the engineers here," she said. "Reinforce the walls with spare panels. Reroute auxiliary energy through the emergency conduits. We cannot fail." Soldiers and engineers obeyed instantly. Plasma bolts struck as predicted. Fires ignited. Panels bent. But the humans had already moved out of harm's way and stabilized systems. Aaron whispered again, "They cannot touch us." "How is this possible?" Lyra shook her head slightly. "It is not about being untouchable. It is about knowing what will happen before it does, and being ready." Hale continued to record, whispering to himself, "Humans survive because they anticipate and endure. They adapt faster than the enemy can strike. They are impossible." The enemy fleet pressed relentlessly. Massive explosions rocked the station. Fires spread. Alarms screamed. Yet humans continued to guide soldiers, repair systems, and save lives. Every action was deliberate, every step precise. Lyra moved to the central command corridor. She assessed the overall situation and began issuing orders. Divert power from outer shields. Reinforce the containment field. Move soldiers to safe positions. Stabilize failing systems immediately. Soldiers obeyed without hesitation. Sparks flew, panels bent, fires burned, yet every action saved lives. Aaron worked alongside her, rerouting power, reinforcing structures, and guiding soldiers. The enemy fleet unleashed a massive wave of fire at the core. Explosions rocked the station. Walls bent, panels fell, fires spread. Soldiers panicked. Yet Lyra and Aaron anticipated each strike, moving personnel and stabilizing systems before damage became critical. Hale whispered, "No other species survives like this. Humans endure because they anticipate, adapt, and act with perfect precision." The alien leaders were silent. They could no longer deny the truth. Humans could not be destroyed by strength or weapons alone. They survived because they thought differently. They anticipated danger, adapted to it, and endured it when all others would fail. Lyra moved calmly through the central corridors, listening to vibrations, feeling the pulse of the station. She predicted every incoming strike, guided soldiers and engineers, and stabilized failing systems. Outside, enemy ships fired relentlessly. Explosions tore through walls and panels. Fires spread. Yet humans endured. They moved with precision. They acted before danger arrived. They saved lives that would have been lost in any other species' hands. Aaron looked at her, wide-eyed.
How do you do it? He asked quietly. Lyra's voice was calm.
We endure. We adapt.
We anticipate. That is how humans survive.
Hale whispered again, recording every movement. They do not just survive, they endure.
They anticipate danger before it arrives. They adapt faster than any enemy can strike. They are impossible? The enemy fleet continued its assault, but the humans inside the station remained unyielding. They moved through chaos with calm precision, guiding soldiers, stabilizing systems, and saving lives. The station trembled under massive impacts. Fires raged. Explosions shattered corridors. Soldiers panicked, yet humans continued, moving with deliberate steps, precise actions, and calculated decisions. The alien leaders realized the full truth. Humans could not be destroyed by conventional means. They endured because they anticipated, adapted, and acted with perfect timing. That was their real strength. Lyra paused, listening to vibrations in the station. She sensed the next attack. "Prepare this section," she said to Aaron. "They will strike here next." Soldiers reinforced panels, rerouted energy, and moved personnel to safety. The attack came exactly as predicted. Plasma bolts tore through walls, but the humans had already moved out of harm's way. Systems remained intact. The enemy fleet advanced relentlessly, yet the humans continued to endure. Fires burned, explosions shook the station, but every action saved lives. Hale whispered in awe, "Humans survive because they endure, adapt, and anticipate. They are impossible." Sia looked toward the central core. She knew the battle was not over. More waves would come. More attacks would strike. But humans had proven once again that survival was not measured by strength alone. It was measured by anticipation, adaptation, and endurance. Aaron whispered, "We cannot fail." "Not now." Lyra nodded calmly. "We will not fail. Humans endure." The station trembled as another wave of enemy ships approached. Fires burned. Alarms screamed. Panels fell. Soldiers panicked. Yet Lyra and Aaron moved calmly, guiding, repairing, and saving lives. Outside, the enemy fleet concentrated fire on critical systems, yet the humans had already anticipated every strike. Systems remained functional. Soldiers survived attacks that should have destroyed them. Hale whispered again, recording every movement. They do not just survive, they endure. They anticipate, adapt, and act with perfect precision. They are impossible. The station held. Fires were contained. Systems stabilized. Soldiers survived. Humans endured. Lyra paused, listening to vibrations. Sensing danger before it arrived, she moved forward, calm and precise, guiding soldiers and engineers. The enemy fleet pressed closer, but humans had already prepared for every attack. The battle raged on, yet humans endured, adapted, and survived where all others would fail. They were unbroken, unyielding, and unstoppable. And in the heart of the station, Lyra stood calmly, ready for whatever came next. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.